Okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Jimena. I'm the lead nurse here at Marshall ISD. I was assistant lead, but now I'm lead.
Yay.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank
Well
you.
deserved.
So thank you everyone for being here at our SHAC meeting. We do have Shannon here today from ECADA. She will be doing a presentation kind of over Narcan in schools and how it's used, why we use it. So I'm going to have her speak first, and then we're going to kind of talk about a little bit about goals for next year that we have. So.
Alright. My name is Shannon Jones. I am the Narcan Educational Specialist for ECADA. We also have a recovery department that has recovery coaches and meetings. And then we have a transition program for anybody 15 to 25 that's aging out of foster care or that's had crimes committed against them. We help them get housing, learn life skills. The department that I work under is the Narcan. We work under a grant that allows us to go out in the community, pass out free Narcan, go to any kind of meetings like this. So today we're going to talk about kind of where we are as far as the opioid epidemic and how to spot overdose and how to use Narcan. So this is the overdose deaths in the United States. The black one is just opioids in general. So there's two types of opioids. There's natural and synthetic. The synthetic, which is this brown line, is what's killing most people, which is fentanyl basically. So, and then the heroin's at this point not even close to fentanyl. This is looking at Texas, and we run right about right with the rest of the states. So you can see where it's just completely increased. When I started in the recovery field, it was one person every 11 minutes was dying of an overdose. It's now one person every 5 minutes. So that's 12 an hour, basically a kindergarten class, you know. So it's kind of spiked and went up when Purdue introduced OxyContin, and they brought it onto the market saying that it wasn't addictive, which turned out to be very much not true. So by that point, you had this population of people who were dependent on opioids. So they had to find something similar to, you know, get them to what was their norm at that point. And unfortunately, that was heroin. So that's when we started seeing the rise in heroin deaths. But the dealers were realizing that heroin, which is a natural, it had to be grown, it had to be harvested, it was cutting into their profit margin, right? So they realized that fentanyl could be made at home with things they ordered off the internet. They got to keep more of the money. So that's when we saw the insane increase in fentanyl overdose deaths. So there's two types of deaths from fentanyl. There's fentanyl toxicity and there's fentanyl poisoning. Fentanyl toxicity is if you have someone who actively goes out to purchase fentanyl. They take it, it's too much for them, they pass away. Fentanyl poisoning, though, is what we're seeing the most deaths from. That's maybe a college kid who wants to stay up all night and study, so they buy an Adderall from somebody in the dorm, but the Adderall is fake and it has fentanyl in it. It's too much for them, and they pass away. And that's what we're seeing the most of, is people who, yes, maybe took a pill that they shouldn't have, or kids that took a pill that was offered to them. They didn't know it had fentanyl in it, and it was just too much for them. So fentanyl is an opioid, and Narcan only works on opioids. So we're going to kind of break that down so you know what to look for. Fentanyl started out in a medical setting. When it's in the medical setting, it can be used for anesthesia, for pain, but in a medical setting, it's also regulated. You have a doctor who's watching you while you're on it. It's not made in somebody's bathtub, and there's no regulations. So that's the major difference of what's making the street fentanyl more toxic. So it can come in a powder form, which can be dyed different colors, and that's how they're making the fake pills. The colorful candies that kind of look like Smarties, that's how they're able to do that. It can also come in a liquid, which makes it possible to be added to nasal sprays, to eye drops, to be sprayed on paper. And it's right now so rampant on the streets. I just moved back from Dallas and it's just horrific. So it's coming this direction, whether we like it or not. So we've got to, early on, educate our kids. Not even aspirin, don't take anything from anybody, because just one mistake, and everything's different the next day. So this just shows the increase in fentanyl deaths in this SHAC. There are some myths about fentanyl that are out on the streets that we kind of want to remove. Yes, fentanyl is very scary, but we don't want anybody to be afraid to save somebody's life and be afraid to give them Narcan. So a couple of the myths that we're trying to break, if I touch fentanyl or inhale it, I'm going to automatically overdose and die. So fentanyl has to have a passageway into your bloodstream. So if you just touch it and you don't have cuts, you don't rub your eye, you're safe for the most part. They tell the nurses staff if they come in contact with fentanyl to wash their hands in lukewarm water, increasing the temperature, because you don't want to use hand sanitizer, because we know that absorbs right into your skin, right? Just walking into a room in there, you should be safe as long as you're not inhaling it and it's getting in any of your weaknesses. The fact that a lot of people think fentanyl is everywhere, all the pills are laced, and not everything on the street is laced in fentanyl, but your chances aren't good. So you're rolling the dice and it's just not worth the gamble. And then some people do think that fentanyl, the Narcan, doesn't work on it, but it in fact does. So there is also a drug on the street that's called xylazine. Xylazine is actually an animal tranquilizer that was never tested on humans, should have never been used on humans. But the dealers were realizing that that nodding out, that euphoric feeling from heroin wasn't lasting as long with fentanyl. So they've added this animal tranquilizer to the fentanyl. So if you see the videos where they're bent over, they're kind of zombie-like, more than likely they got a hold of what's called trank dope on the street that has the xylazine in it. Another really bad thing about xylazine is it's causing sores to appear on the user's bodies. If you Google trank dope wounds, it's horrific. It is really gruesome. It can be as little as needing wound care up to having to have limbs amputated. So, and it's in Dallas now, so I'm sure it's on its way. But another bad thing is when you have an addict who's been given the gift of desperation and they're ready to go to treatment, rehabs are not equipped to do wound care. So when they get there, a lot of them are having to be turned away, go take care of this wound and then come back. Chances are they're not going to make it back. So stimulants are what we see the most around here. That's meth, cocaine, Adderall, Ritalin. Their side effects usually are more based on what you already have going on. If you already have high blood pressure, if you already have a high heart rate, this is going to amplify that. So that's where we see the most damage with stimulant use. So as far as the symptoms for an overdose, for an opioid versus a stimulant, they're pretty much complete opposites. With an opioid, the person's usually unconscious, unresponsive. They may be making a rattling, a snoring kind of sound. What an opioid does is it slows down your breathing until you're not. So when you come across someone and they're making that rattling, that gurgling sound, it's pretty much the death rattle. when you're at that point, you've got to get into action. The thing that most first responders look for is the pinpoint pupils. Okay, so if you don't know, that's where I would go at the pupils. But with stimulant overdose, complete opposite. They have dilated pupils. They're very up, running around. Mood swings, irritability. Where opioids is a slow breathing, with stimulants it's rapid and excessive sweating usually. With stimulants, it's not necessarily called an overdose. It's called toxicity or overamping, and that just means they've introduced too many to their system. So again, the major difference is unresponsive versus very up and alert, moving around, and then the pupils. So polysubstance is when a person uses one or more substances. So back in the old movies, it was the lady that takes a handful of Valium, chases it down with alcohol. Right now we're seeing a lot of meth that has fentanyl mixed in it. And it's not necessarily that, yes, you may have some dealers that's what they're doing, to strum up business. But a lot of times it's just cross-contamination. Because if they're making meth and they're making fentanyl, they're not sterilizing, they're not cleaning those pots and pans. So it's just a lot of just cross-contamination. So as far as the influences that can cause somebody to actually go into overdose, there's a couple of factors that can feed into that. Of course, the drug itself. How strong is it? Is it mixed with anything else? How was it used? Was it snorted? Was it injected? So these are all things that can add in. And then the person themselves. How high is their tolerancy? Are they expecting this drug to have fentanyl in it? The two major reasons that someone will overdose, other than just the strength of the fentanyl, is using alone. By the time you're at that spot where you need Narcan, if you're by yourself, you're not going to be able to call 911. You're not going to be able to Narcan yourself. So there is several campaigns out there promoting never use alone. And then if you have someone who is using for the first time after not using for a while, maybe they're getting out of prison, maybe they've been in treatment and now they're back out, they've been 28 days without using. As an addict, our brains are going to want to use the same amount that we used last time. And if we have that long period of not using, our body doesn't have that same tolerancy. So that's a lot of times when we lose people. And then what's going on around them? Do they have access to Narcan? Is someone there that keep an eye on them? There are tools out there like fentanyl testing strips where they can put their drugs on the strip. It'll change a different color if there's fentanyl in it. Unfortunately, though, as of right now in the state of Texas, it's illegal to pass out fentanyl testing strips. It's considered paraphernalia for some odd reason. So again, the drug, the individual, and kind of what they're doing in this setting. So substance use disorder is a problematic pattern of use of an intoxicating substance leading to clinically significant impairment or distress. So that's the medical definition for substance use. When someone comes in for an intake, they're going to be asked, how's it affecting your work? Are you doing less things with your family because of this use? And that's kind of where they gauge where they are. So there are medications for opioid use disorder. That's going to be your methadone, your Suboxone, your Subutex. These are not medicines people need to stay on for the rest of their life. They can go into treatment, start on the methadone, on the Suboxone, kind of get their brain thoughts leveled back out, get them some recovery equity, get the job back, get to see the kids again. Then that's when they need to start talking about weaning off of methadone. It doesn't need to be something that's lifelong. Unfortunately for right now, there's not any medical treatment for stimulants. They basically just are gonna need to rest it off, and then they need counseling. They need to get into one of the AA or NA and find out what the core reason was that, life kind of went that direction. So the things that can be done to reduce the risk: not using alone, having Narcan. So a lot of people, when I start mentioning Narcan, they kind of glaze over because they say, I don't hang out with those kind of people. But you don't have to have an addict in your life to have Narcan. So my own grandma turned 90 in September and broke her ankle. She was prescribed a pain medication and she was sent home with Narcan. He did this because he knows that she has little kids coming in and out of the house. So if one of the grandbabies got into her medicine, it's safe on infants, breastfeeding moms, the elderly, even dogs. If dogs get into their owner's medication, it can be used on dogs. Also, at 90, the doctor knows her memory's not quite what it used to be. So if she were to take that medication and forget and take it again, then she could go into distress. So it's good to have on hand. If you have anybody in the community that cannot afford Narcan, because at the pharmacy it's usually between $40 to $70, we have it. We have a grant, we have tons of it. So if you have anybody in the community that needs it for that reason or any other reason, just call us. My number's on all the boxes, and we'll just bring it out to them. And then making sure they know that there's options available for treatment, educating people on overdose, and then also kind of removing the stigma. You have to think about the fact 80% of heroin users didn't just wake up one day and decide this is what I'm going to do with my life. It usually started with something as simple as a surgery. They got a prescription for pain meds. We know it takes the body 5 days to become dependent on opioid. So this is why we kind of got to remind ourselves. We have no idea what's going on in their head. We have no idea what's going on in their life. If you have somebody who's wanting help, they're not really going to feel like coming and asking for help if they're constantly feeling judged. So just a little bit of kindness goes a long way. So our body automatically makes opioids, and we have these receptors that they sit on. But if you have someone who introduces too many opioids, they're kind of bouncing around in there, they don't have anywhere to go, that's when they can go into distress. Now these receptors would prefer Narcan or naloxone, it's the same thing, over this opioid. So when you Narcan somebody, it kicks that opioid off of that receptor and it sits there. The only thing is, unfortunately, it only sits there for 30 minutes. So if you have someone who's ingested quite a bit of opioids, you give them the Narcan, they need to go. They need to get on the ambulance, they need to be monitored in the hospital, because in 30 minutes, if they still have it in their system, you're going to be right back in the same spot, minus the Narcan that you used. So it's important that they go ahead and go with the ambulance. So Narcan's been around for a while, since 1961. It was approved in the nasal spray, which is what we passed out in 2015. It also comes in a form that kind of looks like an EpiPen. And then in the movies, you see the overly dramatic where they hit them with the syringe. It does come in liquid form. This is what we pass out. There's 2 in each box. The good thing with Narcan is if you come across somebody and you are just not sure, maybe it's an opioid overdose, maybe they're drunk, maybe they're having some kind of other medical issue, if you give them Narcan and it's not an opioid, it does absolutely nothing. It doesn't sober them up, it doesn't give them some weird burst of adrenaline, it does nothing at all to them. So if you don't know, it's best to go ahead and do it. Along those same lines, Narcan can be kept in your car This is Texas, it's always hot. Some of it's gonna evaporate, but still some is better than not having any at all. They do say though, when we get those random freezes, we need to bring it in because it doesn't need to get frozen. Same thing with the expiration date. These that I brought, I believe expire at the end of 2029. Don't throw them away until you get a new box. They have a shelf life well past that date. And again, some is better than having none at all. So there's a bill in Texas, State Bill 1462. It protects you both criminally and financially if you Narcan somebody and something bad happens. Let's say you Narcan them and you have to give them CPR, and maybe you crack one of their ribs, or worst case scenario, you Narcan them and they don't make it. Bill 1462 is going to protect you from having charges pressed against you, and it's also going to protect them from being able to sue you and you lose financial. So it protects you as long as you're giving it to them in good faith, which why you would give it to them for any other reason, I'm not sure. So, all right, let's talk about what it looks like. If you come across somebody and they are unresponsive, you can shake them, you can holler their name. This is, you can pinch right here. Your best bet is to rub right here. If they're drunk, if they're asleep, if they're playing possum, when you rub right here, something's gonna twitch, right? When you rub right here and they're unconscious, nothing moves. So if you do that and you see that nothing's moving, again, you're already on borrowed time and you need to get it rolling. So you're gonna lay them flat. You're gonna pull up their chin, kind of like in CPR, where you have the open passageway. You're gonna put this into their nose, and you're gonna push the plunger all the way in. Now on a real one, the plunger doesn't pop back out, and they need absolutely everything that's in here. So you don't wanna test it and make sure it works. They need everything that's in here. So you wanna make sure somebody has called 911. You're gonna need them on the phone to do several things. We do tell kids when we go into schools, you don't have to tell them your friend's overdosing. You don't have to tell them what y'all were doing 5 minutes before that. Simply say, my friend's unconscious, my friend's not breathing. We don't want them to be scared to call 911 because they need to have them on the phone. So when you give them the first dose, let the operator know because she's gonna set a timer. Within 2 to 3 minutes, if they're not up and alert, she's gonna want you to do the second dose that's in the box, okay? And that's another reason to have them on the phone because nobody's gonna think about setting that timer, right? In the meantime, she may want you to go ahead and do CPR. If you don't have a mask, if you're not comfortable with doing just face-to-face, you can put a t-shirt between y'all. The main thing is to get some blood flow because they need that oxygen to the brain because that's what we're worried the most about. So go ahead, tip their neck back, their nose pointing up to the ceiling, have that open passageway, cover their mouth with yours, and do the full breath every 5 seconds. So it says you can count out 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and breathe. If you're not comfortable with doing CPR at all, that is okay. That's your right. You need to tell 911 that you're not. And they'll probably at least have you start chest compressions so that some air is getting to where it needs to go. So again, that's the most important part because that's where we're going to see the most damage is lack of oxygen to the brain. Then we're going to put them on the recovery position. That is laying on their left side. We're going to bend one of their knees up so they don't roll over. Put a hand under their head. This is going to protect them from if they do throw up so that they don't swallow it back down. So after 3 minutes, if they're not up and alert, you're going to want to go ahead and do the second dose that's in the box. Okay, so So what does it look like when you Narcan somebody? If you Narcan somebody who is not addicted to that opioid, again, back to my grandma. She's only taken the pain meds a couple of days. She made a mistake. She took them. When I give her Narcan, she's going to come to. She's going to be alert. She's going to be a little confused. I'm making her get on the ambulance, okay? If you give Narcan to somebody who is in active addiction or who's necessarily not even abusing their drug, but they've been prescribed it for so long, maybe for pain management, when you give them Narcan, it puts them into automatic withdrawals, which are just like it looks on the movies. Vomiting, diarrhea, everything hurts. When you give them Narcan, step back. One thing you don't want to get thrown up on is sometimes they do come out throwing fists. They don't realize what they're doing, but you have to think one moment, life's about to be great, everything's good. They come to absolutely everything hurts. You're standing over them looking at them. So sometimes they do come out throwing fists. So you just want to protect yourself and step back. So again, if I can stress anything the most, this is it. You got 30 minutes. You really want to make them go ahead and get on that ambulance. And you also don't want to leave them. Because when they come to, and everything hurts, everything feels horrible, their first thought is, how can I fix this? And we all know how that's going to look, right? That's going to be them using again. So stay with them. If you need to run downstairs or out the door to let the ambulance in, that's fine, but you need to come back and stay with them. So we're going to recognize that something's going on. We're going to give them the Narcan. We're going to call 911. We're going to put them in that recovery position, and then we're going to stay with them. If you think that they might be having an overdose or overamping from a stimulant, there's, of course, Narcan's not going to work on it because it's not an opioid, unless they happen to get a hold of some meth that has Narcan or has fentanyl in it. So with a stimulant overdose, definitely call 911. Watch them, watch your surroundings. They are probably going to be agitated, so you need to keep them safe and you safe. And then try to reduce their heating. So provide them with water, maybe a cool towel, and just kind of sit with them till the ambulance gets there. So having to give someone Narcan is horribly stressful. It's chaotic. It's frightening. Best case scenario, they get up, they realize the mistake they made, they never do it again, they love you for saving their life. It's still, that's a lot. It's a lot to take on. Worst case scenario, that they don't make it, that's even worse that you're carrying with you. So watch out for yourself. If you're having too many thoughts about it, too many flashbacks, contact somebody. 988 is a great resource. My phone number's on every box. If you need to call me, we will sit and talk about it. Just take care of yourself. So as far as where you can get it, again, the pharmacies have it. It's available there. You can order it off of naloxonetexas.com. Call us. I brought bags with all of our flyers, our information in it. Everything that we do is free under this grant. So if you have organizations that want to learn, one week I'm doing Boy Scouts, Rotary Club, Compi Festival, anywhere people are gathering that want to learn, we want to get it in everybody's hands. So I know I just threw a lot at y'all. Does anybody have any questions or anything they thought of? Anything? I never know how to end because it's such heavy material. I'll be like, okay, go guys. But it's tough and it's scary and it's not getting better, y'all. It's not. And the way that it can be changed to different colors, I mean, we have got to talk to our kids. I'm almost 50. I guarantee you I make at least one dumb choice a week. You know, they're going out there and just one pill. That's all that it takes. So we've got to have these conversations. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was
Shannon.
very thorough.
That was
Thank you.
great.
Very thorough. Is that available in schools?
It is.
Do they have it at high
So
school?
we do have Narcan at each school. The nurse will have it. If not, our police officers do too.
Okay.
So that's kind of like where you can go find it. If
I mean, I would pray that we don't need it on our elementary campus, but,
But
you know.
still,
You never
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and because you don't know what's going on in somebody else's house,
Right.
and sometimes that's the scariest
Well, they could
part.
accidentally get a hold of mom's
Right.
pills.
yeah. And it's required in the state of Texas to have it, I think, 6th and up. Is that correct?
Yeah.
6th and up.
But usually every school has it in their AED boxes. And
Okay.
It's kind of something we've thought about, played with ideas, putting them in AED boxes, because you kind of know that's where the emergency's at.
Yeah.
But for now, we still haven't done that approved, so nurses and police officers
Okay.
have them available.
That's good to know.
I also wanted to kind of touch up a little bit. I know Sharon finished speaking, but I also want to talk about, Zach and I are revising our wellness policy and plan. It's lengthy, so if you want to go through it, I did actually bring some copies for everyone to do some homework. I hand a copy out, so she can probably have that. Do you want another one?
Sure, I'll take it.
And I thank you so much for joining
So
us.
I'm gonna leave this for any parents that want it in here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will, if you can get the PowerPoint, if you would email it to me, that way I can send it to our online guests.
Okay, I can definitely.
Thank you. But this is our wellness plan. We're working on getting some of the goals updated and seeing if maybe we can tailor it a little bit more. I think this was put into place quite a while ago. So I would love it if everyone is able to kind of look through it. And if you see anything that it's like, okay, that's kind of outdated, we need to fix that. I'd be more than happy for you to bring that to me. Our SMART goals, you'll find them throughout, but our SMART goals have to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and then they also kind of have to have a time frame, and that's kind of like what we're going to do with our goals, and some of them don't, so we'll look through those and see maybe we can make them into SMART goals. I know this meeting went a little bit longer than planned, but for our next meeting, I would like us to kind of come up with a SMART goal, at least one, maybe more if we have the time. But that's kind of going to be our goal for our next meeting. And then our goal for next year is to hopefully have this wellness plan and policy revised. So I would love it if you guys would help us collaborate in that.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
So one thing about the wellness policy in the plan is nobody in the district really knows it exists.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, TDA and TEA both recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the main goal of this is to create standards across the board in our district on how we want to promote physical activity and nutrition education and that stuff. So if there's something going on in the district currently that you guys don't agree with or want to change that's happening district-wide, this is where we would put it into place. So, because has to be followed by everybody in the district, and this is the wellness plan is how we were going to implement it, and so it'll have steps on, the correct thing to do and the policies we want to abide by, and we can enforce them with everybody in the district, every campus. If that makes sense.
And also there is a copy of our wellness plan and policy is available on the district website. If y'all didn't know, it's under our health services tab.
Okay.
So it is there if you want to take a look at that policy. There's also that. But this is kind of where we can put our own input into that plan, and kind of like things we would like to change. We are able to implement that through our plan, and I think is a great thing, but it definitely needs some revision, so I would like it if everyone would be able to help.
I can give an example. One thing I want to put in here is
Yeah.
surrounding vending machines, because the vending machines were put into the district 2 years ago, I think, which is all fine, but there are requirements around it which nobody knows about. And so they were put in the same year we were being audited in child nutrition, and we just got lucky our auditor didn't walk out of the cafeteria, because if our auditor had seen it, then it would have been a finding on our audit and it would have been a big deal. But the only issue is the snacks being sold in that vending machine are not smart snack compliant, which is the TDA compliance. And so I want to put that in this policy that any snacks sold in the district have to be smart snack compliant. So that way, next time they think about having a vending machine, they can say, well, let's go look at the local wellness policy first and make sure we're abiding by the rules. That's just an example of something I
Well,
want
that's
to
good. I don't know if they do it to other schools, but our kids are not allowed to buy anything from the vending machines.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, our vending machines at one point were in our hallway, and it said, you know, adults only or whatever, but they have, and the kids would not use, they did not use them. But they have been moved into our, lounge.
Yeah.
And so the kids don't have access, even walk by, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's good. But it's
So, I mean,
something-
they don't need to be buying Cokes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
For any of that.
Yeah, there are a lot more, like at the high school, I kind of think about it, but they're kind of open, so kids
Yeah.
sometimes do buy stuff from them, so.
For sure.
They're just fine. They're absolutely allowed to. They just have to be smart snack compliant.
Yeah.
And if they're not, then they have to take it out. And so, yeah, for the audit, I went to all the principals and said, please just move it or put that sign that says
Yeah.
adults only.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then whenever the auditor showed up at the school, one of them didn't have the sign up, so I just unplugged it. And said,
Yeah.
said it doesn't work. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Does anybody have any questions for me or?
I don't, but I do have a meeting with Ms. Taylor.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it. Maybe
Um,
next time we'll have a better turnout.
yeah, agreed.
I know.
Agreed.
I went up to the old building. You
Oh.
Oh, it's the health services building?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. I went down through there and I told the security guard, I said, I'm here for 1202 Evans, and it clicked in my head, Evans.
Thank y'all.
Well, I'm glad you made it to
Yes,
us.
I did. And then when I came around, guess what? It was a long train on
Oh,
the
no.
I sat there and waited on that. I didn't know how to go around no other way.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
sat there right off of 80 and just waited till the train went by.
Yes. Well, I thank you so much for being
You're
here,
welcome.
and I thank our online guests for being here as well.
How many do you have on there online?
we have 2
Those are
online.
option.
We have
Okay.
2 online, and if you would like,
Is that Miss Pam?
Hi, who is that? Who is that?
It's me, Gwen.
Hey, how you doing? I was looking to walk in this room and see you.
Hold on, I think I got my camera on.
We go to other meetings together.
Yeah.
She's community health board.
I
Okay.
got you.
Yeah, I work for Medicaid though. I do outreach for Medicaid.
yes, ma'am.
Nah, hold on, let me come around.
I probably should have gone around and said everybody introduce themselves,
Yes.
which we didn't, but these are our online guests that have been joining us today.
Okay. So what you have to do? Request a link or?
I did a virtual meeting, or
Okay.
it's like kind of like a Google meeting. If you would
Okay.
like that option, I'm more than happy to. Next time I'll send it out
Okay.
as well.
Yeah.
It's just a
okay.
link that you can join and,
Okay.
and you
All
can
right,
listen
'cause
to
I'd
us.
like
and
to
all
join
that.
sometime, even if I can't come
Right.
in person. I
And
like to
sometimes
join.
some people can't, so
Yeah, that's
I wanted
true.
to kind of have them come and join us if they
Okay.
through online. But this will conclude our meeting.
Okay.
If you would like to take some Narcan things that you did, you're more than welcome to. And is it okay if you guys put in send a message with y'all's name and title? That way I can add you onto our sign-in sheet. And I thank you so much for joining us.
You know the other person that's on there? You probably don't know the other person. do you?
It's Miss Mitchell?
Yes, I can on my sheet. Miss Mitchell?
Yes.
Okay.
Can't hear it for some reason. I don't know. Is it me? Maybe I have you muted. Let me see.
You're from the high school, right?
I'm technically I'd be an administrator.
Okay.
I'm the director of child.
Okay, so that's
Yes, we can hear you now.
At the high school?
Okay.
No, I'm in the
I said, did you want me to tell you our titles, or do you want me to still?
That's fine. You can do that.